is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That's fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channelmom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Welcome back to the Channelmom Show. I am your host, Jenny Dean Schmidt, here on Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1510, FM 93.7. Hey, Josh, did anyone win the Channelmom sampler pack?
We did get a winner.
Woohoo!
Dana from Highlands Ranch got in first, and she won the sampler pack. She sounded pretty excited.
Oh, good. It's wonderful stuff. I love it. The scents of these and fragrances of these wonderful, rich lotions, and it's all natural, and it's shea butter. Oh, it's just wonderful stuff.
You didn't catch the bump music, did you?
Yes, Little Miss.
Little Miss Can't Be Wrong.
That would be me.
That's exactly why I played it.
Thank you, John. I don't know how to take that. Okay, I do want to mention that you can watch Channelmom, the radio show that we are doing now live. You can watch it on www.channelmom.com. And there are also a lot of other features on that website which are good for mothers. We're just about to install something called Mom on Call. If you just need somebody to support you, we're going to have mothers staff that voluntarily just to call and say, I'm having a day, and they'll just listen to you. Or even teenagers can call if they need some support. Right now, though, we're going to get back to Jamie talking about relationships. She's so good on this stuff. I listen to her for my own marriage. I did present her with this question. It occurs to me that when I hear my friends, or maybe even me on occasion, although I would never complain about my husband because he's wonderful, people tend to complain about the characteristics in their spouse that, frankly, they knew about when they got married. And I asked her about that situation. What happens to those characteristics that suddenly they sour?
Definitely, Jenny. In fact, I find that very interesting in working with couples. And even as I've done premarital counseling, not only is it something that they knew about them, it is oftentimes the very thing they fell in love with. And so oftentimes in counseling with premarital couples, I'll say, what first attracted you to them? And what did you first enjoy most about them? And when you get them to answer that question, pausing for a minute and saying, what will that look like in a marriage? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You might meet someone who is just friendly and outgoing and joyful from the start, and you loved that about them when you met them. Well, in a marriage, what does that look like? Are they then maybe too sociable? Do you think that maybe they flirt with other people? Or, to stretch their imaginations to think, how does this very thing that I was drawn to, how could that present as a problem, and how will we approach it? And I think when we can better prepare couples for that, then it's not such a surprise.
Right.
So not only is it something they knew, it was most likely the thing that they fell in love with first.
Right. I know. And it's a source of frustration, and I'm certainly not belittling any mother out there who really feels at her wit's end about her marriage. I'm not doing that. I just so badly want them to get back to that place where they did choose to be married to that person, and sort of encourage them to know that it is something that can be reconciled, and that they can, in most cases. Okay, Jamie, that's fabulous information, and I know that we have some callers standing by that really want to ask you questions for themselves. So first, I'm going to go to Lydia. Lydia, you're on with Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. My question is not currently what I'm going through, but I have a lot of friends who, after their children have left the home, have gotten a divorce. So I'm curious if you can give me tips to help avoid that.
Okay, that's a great question. And, this is something I hear often with many couples, and while I can't give you personal counsel, I can tell you some things that I've seen work for others. The empty nest stage can be a really hard time of life. After all, for a number of years, you've identified with each other, with your kids kind of being the buffer, the go-between. A lot of your activities revolved around them. A lot of your conversations revolved around them. And all of a sudden, that changes. I think some simple things that might help would be to even just start small communication on a daily basis, whether it even be 15 minutes, that has nothing to do with the kids, but just about the two of you. I know even when my husband and I have tried this, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to think beyond the kids, but you have to start connecting in those small ways to a life outside of just parenting and parenting issues. And while the date once a week may be unrealistic, maybe just connecting a little bit on a daily basis can be a helpful start. You know, Jenny, this might also be a time in life where seeking a counselor might help this transition. A fresh perspective for approaching key transition points in life can be really helpful as you learn to understand each other and relate in a whole new way.
Right. You know, ironically, had they not come together in marriage, they would not have those children that they're focused so much on. And I know you have 5 children, so
I do.
it's got to be very hard for you sometimes to go back to the marriage.
I'll tell you what, 15 minutes of conversation can be golden, Jenny.
Absolutely, absolutely. To get back in touch with why
That's
you
right.
fell in love with that person.
That's
Okay, we have
right.
another caller. Caller, you're on the line with Jamie.
Hello. My question is, I want to show my husband the respect and support that he wants and deserves, but I'm not sure what that looks like, and he won't give me the specifics of exactly how to do that. Can you help me?
That's another good question, another great question. And as I've talked through this with other couples, I can tell you some things that have worked for other people. A lot of times, men respond well to spoken words. Maybe you can give him some positive affirmations about things that you appreciate about them, things that he's really good at, or things you're thankful that he does, because then you don't have to do them. And I think that's one key way that we can communicate our respect for them. I think another way that we can do that is spending time with them. Sometimes everything else in life gets our quality time, but maybe we don't take that time to do things that really connect with them. And when we act interested in things that they're interested in, it conveys a sense of, I respect you and I respect what you're doing.
Yeah, you know, I've heard that women really crave the face-to-face time. I guess that's how they receive their love. But men crave shoulder-to-shoulder time.
Right.
So I will, and maybe that's how they get respected, but I will literally force myself to sit on the couch shoulder-to-shoulder with my husband to watch whatever sporting event it is, usually football, that he wants to watch. Is that true, that sometimes literally you have to force yourself to sit down, and whether it's NASCAR or football or his favorite sitcom, that you have to sit next to him and or fishing even, and enjoy what he's enjoying?
You know, Jenny, I think it's true. I think that sitting side by side and showing him what you're doing is worthwhile, or what you're doing I care to know more about, says so much to them, even more than if we were going to sit right in front of them and say, I really respect you. You know, it's those hidden ways that we can just communicate and convey a level of respect that words don't touch.
Sure, sure. In thinking back on these callers, is there anything else that you want to add to answer their concerns about how to respect their husband and how to save their marriage at the empty nest time?
You know, I really do think that time spent together, I think communicating, maybe even communicating some of the fears that you have as a couple. I think sometimes when we can convey our feelings of, I don't know what's ahead and I'm nervous about it, it says to them, I care enough to share this part of me with you. And while it might make us more vulnerable, I think it says to them, I trust you with this feeling. And as a couple, when you can trust each other with your feelings, you can approach them together and help share the burden or help conquer it together. And I think ultimately that gives us a stronger sense of couplehood. And maybe sometimes our husbands knowing that we really need them is another way of us saying, I respect you and I know you have what it takes.
Absolutely. And so often we just need to understand what the other person needs and what they fear and you know, those kind of things. If we just understood that, we'd get along better. And that even applies to the sex life between a married couple. And that's something that I hope to touch on with you next time, Jamie, because we do plan to have you back regularly, because I know there are so many moms out there that this is one of their primary concerns. That they're not just concerned about parenting, but they're concerned about how to keep the other parent in the relationship, which is absolutely key. So I do hope you'll come back soon and you'll take some calls from those moms out there who really need some help.
You bet, Jenny. I would love it.
Okay. Thanks so much for being with us.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, she was very, very good. I really appreciate her. And I really do hope that this has been a blessing to some moms out there, you know, who have struggled in the relationships or getting into a relationship. I really hope this is a help to you. Now, let's talk about a fabulous place to vacation. I really want to tell you how great North Fork Ranch is. I've actually stayed there and I will tell you that it makes for a stunning vacation setting. It's a wonderful, wholesome getaway for families, and you won't have to pay a lot for gas because it's up in our Colorado Rockies. It includes an Orvis endorsed fishing lodge, special perks for dad, including a personal fly fishing guide. There's horseback riding for the kids and all kinds of fun games, and there's the rivers right there, and they can do things there. There's also pampering for mom, which I like, including massages and a heated pool with a view of the rushing river nearby. Karen and Dean May, who own that ranch, really do understand hospitality. They treat you to an amazing 7-course dinner every night by the crackling fire they have in the lodge. It's beautiful. And if you call them this month to reserve your stay, just mention the Channel Mom Show, and Mom's stay is absolutely free. That is a considerable saving. So I would recommend it as a place to stay. The number is 1-800-843-7895. That's 1-800-843-7895 for North Fork Ranch. And remember, all the sponsors on the show are supporting you as mothers. This is the Channel Mom Show. I'm Jenny Dean Schmidt, and I want to tell you about next week. We have some cool new information on how to help children with a variety of issues, whether they are behavior issues or psychological issues. It's a fascinating new approach that's as simple as riding on a horse. That's next Saturday at 8 a.m. Be sure and tune in. And also be sure to watch the show on www.channelmom.com and all the other features that we have there for mothers, which we've got a great blog and the Moms on Call and just some really fabulous things for moms there. So we hope you'll join us there. And you can also join us on Facebook, which is facebook.com, I think, /ChannelMom. I'd love to hear from you about the show and whatever else you want to talk about. If you've got some subject you'd like to talk about, we're trying to get some other great guests, 1 or 2 actresses from Hollywood that play mothers, and not all of Hollywood is bad, despite what I said at the beginning of the show. So we thank you for joining us. God bless the mothers. We're so grateful for what you do, and we hope you'll join us again next week.